All right, welcome to the franchise time machine. Let me get I'm still in the midst of getting stuff set up here, but all right. So tonight, we talked about this when we did the knuckleball experiment last night, which is really interesting. These pitch repertoire experiments continue to make me very happy because we're seeing like pretty definitive um, conclusions that we can draw from the results. And again, it's because we're trying to decipher, right, developers' efforts to turn infinitely complicated physical sport into something that can be coded into a computer for purposes of simulation. And so if you try to do this with real baseball, it's impossible, right? Because it's infinite and any model is bound to fail. But because we're trying to decipher a human interpretation of that, like we can actually be successful. And some of these experiments have, I think, succeeded in figuring out some of the thought process behind how the game is set up, which in turn lets us be better players of the game, right? If you understand what makes pitcher performance or what are the drivers of pitcher performance, good and bad, it helps you make better decisions when you're, drafting in the base game or in perfect drafts, or you're developing players in an online league, or whatever it is that you're doing. I think understanding how the game works um, can only help. So last night we did an interesting experiment based on something AW had said. Let's give AW a shout out here because he does stream. Based on his experience, I think with PVE, he had mentioned that he thought, and what I wasn't sure about was whether he had heard this from OOTP or whether he had discovered it in his own kind of analytics or some combination of both, but that the knuckleball counts as two pitches for purposes of certain boosts, right? So if you go a little further back, we confirmed Smiley Face Jane, welcome back to the stream, and thank you for doing that Georgia Tech sim. I was really excited to see that. Um, that's all. It's something that's been long on my list of things to do, and the fact that you did it, it was great. Like I got to check it out without having to do any work. And some of the names on the list, like half of them brought back like amazing memories. The other half, I was like, I know I had seen some of those names on lists of Georgia Tech alumni in the majors, but others I was like, wow, either didn't know or had completely forgotten that they had gone to Tech. So that was really cool. So yeah, so um, you have to dig pretty far. Yeah, especially I've been on the pitching side because one reason. So Georgia Tech is kind of maybe just within like me and my friends, but like just notorious for having great regular seasons and then falling apart in the College World Series. And when I stopped to think about it, it's because we never have good pitching. We have lots of great bats and never any good pitching. And so when you get to a format like the College World Series, it just doesn't work. You have to have some stud pitchers in the rotation and at least one or two good arms coming out of the pen. And we usually don't have that. So I bet finding pitchers you really have to dig back. Like Kevin Brown is by far the exception. Um, there are pitchers I remember, especially from like I was there, and then maybe like the first when I was still following pretty closely. But even the pitchers that seemed okay, just like never did anything in the majors. Ezra Denny, thank you for the raid. Uh, I was in your stream lurking most of the time, Ezra. I really enjoyed that seventh inning stretch. Um, Roger Craig, original Met Roger Craig. Um, it was really so for me. There have been a bunch of players that I've learned about as players in Perfect Team that I only knew as managers and coaches. Um, so like Leo DeRocher had a card. Um, Roger Craig, of course, I knew as an original Met, but had never. I was much more familiar with him as the pitching coach. Um, I think at the time for the Astros, and then I think he managed the Giants. But like I remember him as the guy who taught Mike Scott the split finger fastball, and like Mel Stottlemyre was a pitching coach for the Mets. I knew he had pitched, but I really never really thought about what his pitching career might have been like. And I think he's had a card. Um, Even Tommy Lasorda, I think, had a really low control pitching card. So it's been really cool to see stuff like that. He taught, Esther says he taught everyone the splitter was his claim to fame. Yeah, I don't doubt it. Spy Fishing, sorry, going back to the Rorschach thing, says Whit Wyatt was the only older one I'd heard of, and that was only because of Perfect Team. Yeah, no, exactly. Um, you know, I think Spy Fishing only thinks of the football player upon hearing Roger Craig. That's true. I didn't even think about that. Which is funny because Roger Craig also played in San Francisco, right? Yeah, they were contemporaneous in San Francisco. That's interesting. That never occurred to me before. Hmm. So yeah, so I guess partly to catch Ezra up and maybe some of the Raiders in, we did a previous experiment where we showed that previous set of experiments that showed. Well, here I have a summary of them right here. Let me see if I can find it. Let me uh let me switch to the base game so I can flip through these pages real quick while I find the but we found some really good insights. Here we go. So if you haven't seen our experiments, these might be mind blowing to you. I think most of us have heard these things, um, but maybe not heard that they had any kind of proof behind them. So, for example, if you're a starting pitcher, your whip will improve significantly upon adding a third pitch to your repertoire, assuming all three pitches are at least average. If one of them is a bad pitch, so basically just like a garbage pitch, we used a rating of 50 as a garbage pitch. Um, you need a fourth pitch. So really, you need three good pitches to improve your whip. But your strikeouts per nine will improve with three pitches, regardless of the quality of that third pitch, which I think is interesting. That means they're using a similar model in that you need three pitches to improve, but the model's a little different. For whip, you need three good pitches. For strikeouts per nine, you just really need three pitches, period. Then we tested something really interesting last night based on something AW had told us, which was um, that the knuckleball, for purposes of whip and strikeout per nine boosts, uh, actually might count as two pitches. So with a non knuckleball pitcher, you would need like a fastball, a slider, and a changeup to have three pitches to get that whip boost. But if the game counts knuckleball as two pitches, you might just need a fastball and a knuckleball. If knuckleball counts as two, you're at three and you get a whip boost. And that's what we found. We found that the whip and strikeouts per nine boost happen with the knuckleball and another pitch. In this case, we used the fastball, which was, I don't know, kind of crazy. If AW hadn't let us in on that in advance, it would have just completely blown my mind. Um, Partly because like it would have blown my mind that we stumbled upon it. So we had a lot of help there by AW having that inside information. So then kind of what I wanted to think about was, okay, if that's the case, what happens if that pitch is a knuckle curve? And one of the things we talked about towards the end of the stream last night was, well, the knuckle curve is much more curveball than knuckleball, um, which is right. But it all depends on, if you take again the view of like, well, what's true in baseball must be true in the game, then yeah, you would not expect the knuckle curve to count as two pitches. But what really it depends on is how did the developers view it and approach it. So I thought it would be a fun test to see, did the developers count the knuckle curve as one pitch for the purposes of whip and canine boost, in which case they're treating it more like a curveball, or is there some chance that they counted it as two and treated it more like a knuckleball? And I thought this was interesting. I looked up, I was looking for like a picture to use. So I used Bert Hooton, who threw a knuckle curve. I found this great picture of him as a coach, uh, as a much older man as a coach. He's been teaching the knuckle curve, and he like shows off the grip of it, which is kind of cool. And then a picture of him throwing during his career. But in searching for, who's a good person to put on the cover slide of this episode, right? I actually found in Wikipedia that they talk about three different kinds of knuckle curves, which I thought was interesting. So the first is the more modern usage of the term, where it is much more curveball, and it's thrown with one or two fingers bent in more of that knuckleball grip. The second version of the knuckle curve that they talk about is, again, it's still a breaking ball, but the grip is a knuckleball grip, right? And not a curveball grip that's been modified. So it still acts like a curveball, but it breaks less sharply and less predictably. Right? So it has some knuckle action to it. And then the third one I found, and this was much more, it seems like a much more niche version, is thrown like a fastball, uh, but has a knuckleball grip. And that one in particular, they talked about Dave Stenhouse throwing in the 60s, and some other pitchers like Freddie Fitzsimmons, who I mostly know through Perfect Team, but also that it was perfected by Hoyt Wilhelm, who I already knew about, but got to know a lot more about through Perfect Team. So again, I think part of whether or not the knuckle curve might be treated as one or two pitches might also depend on which definition the developers were thinking of when they called it the knuckle curve. So in looking this up too, I was also learned that first version, right, the more modern version, some people are calling it the spike curve to distinguish it from the knuckleball, because the feeling is that it has so much less to do with the knuckleball and much more to do with the curveball. Whereas like definitions 2 and 3, I think have varying degrees of, but more kind of kinship with the knuckleball. So, especially after reading that, I thought, okay, this experiment is probably still worth it. AW, you missed it. We've been giving you lots of props for you letting us in on the potential secret that the knuckleball might count as two pitches for purposes of whip and strikeout per nine purposes, which we proved is true last night. But tonight I want to do an extension of that experiment to see how the game treats the knuckle curve. That's funny. Yeah, Clay Dog's right. So based on the responses for the 10 fact giveaway, though, AW, even though you told us that, and even though I designed the entire experiment believing you and wanting to just prove it true, only one person in the forum said that a knuckleball and a fastball would be treated as three pitches for purposes of um, whip and strikeout per nine boosts. So if you had been here, you probably would have won, AW. So one person believed you and won, and then the rest were going tiebreakers. Yeah. So just like we believed AW. Well, I believed AW, but still ran the experiment. I also I tend to believe what we were all saying at the end of last night that um, the knuckle curve is the knuckle is the kind of qualifier of the curve, right? So it's actually a curve ball. And again, if you go back to these three definitions, right, none of them treat it as a knuckle ball, except the third one you can arguably say is more of a hybrid knuckleball curveball. Right? And so if the OOTP developers treated as definitions one and two, you would probably expect it to act like a curveball and therefore not count as two pitches for the purposes um, of the whip and strikeout per nine boost. Even if they did believe in definition three, which is possible, right? Because some of the pitchers they mentioned that through that third version are in the game, and so theoretically they could have come up in the conversation when defining the knuckle curve. I would still say it's probably only 50-50 that it was modeled to be more like the knuckleball than more like the curveball. But we're going to test it. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to shift it a little bit and have two one pitch pitchers teams. One team is going to have just the fastball. The other team is going to have just the knuckle curve. Because I think if we rewound this and did this last night with just a fastball and just a knuckleball, that would have given us an additional important data point to show that the one pitch fastball team would probably perform worse than the one pitch knuckleball team. Because for the purpose of the game, the knuckleball is being treated as two pitches. So you're really comparing a one pitch fastball team against a two pitch team. So if you believe that the knuckle curve is just a curveball, then these two one pitch teams should perform pretty similarly. If you believe that, even if it's treated as 1.5 pitches, you would expect the knuckle curve then to outperform slightly the fastball team. And if you don't believe that there's any kind of extra value in terms of the whip or strike per nine boost, then you would expect you would not get any increase in performance until you get to the third pitch here, right? Because there's no double counting any of these, and the benefit happens at pitch three. These are all average value pitches, so you would not expect that whip or strikeout per nine to increase until you get to this third pitch. The other, interesting thing has been that even though slightly different, the whip boost and the strikeout per nine boost have been apparently programmed a little differently by the developers, where the whip boost requires three good pitches and the strikeout per nine boost only requires three pitches. The third pitch can be terrible. And so, is it possible that there's some difference in how the knuckle curve would be counted between the whip boost calculation and the strikeout per nine boost calculation? I don't know. I'm leaning towards no. I'm leaning towards the knuckle curve being treated just like a curveball. But because the word knuckles in there, and because of this third definition of the varying definitions of knuckle curve, I still think it's worth checking out just to make sure. And so that's what we're going to do. I'll do the we'll do the 10 pack giveaway. I'll use the form pretty similar to the one we used last night. In fact, I'll copy that one and we'll use that as the basis. So let me pull that up and oh, here's the data from last night. Why don't I put that on the screen? You guys can check that out as I update the form real quickly here. And then well that's up. Let me at least copy the form. Okay, so that is just a chance for y'all to catch up on what we saw last time. Oh no, I wasn't on mute. I was just getting the form copied and ready to share. Okay, so we'll start with the form from last time. Whether or not Knuckle curves. And we're only going to do 1, 2, and 3 because we're going to try two versions of the one pitch. In a change from the knuckleball experiment, we will have two one pitch teams. One will only have fastball equals 400. The other will only have knuckle curve equals 400. Yeah. So we're going to add a different first question here because I think this will be an interesting first question. It's it's all the standard league. So I think the velocities are 91 to 93 miles per hour. All pitchers velocity. Now, because he's looked at this before, I don't think he's looked at in OTB 25 though. Is that right? AW might have an edge, but it's also be extra funny if he doesn't win. All right, let's do a copy of this question, but I'm going to change it completely. I think a good first question will be, will the one pitch knuckle curve team have whip or strikeouts per nine? Either one. We'll say 10% better than the one pitch fastball team. I'm going to do the same disclaimer as last time. If it's like 8.5%, but it seems pretty clear, I may still declare it a significant improvement. Um, because these numbers I'm picking are still pretty arbitrary. So this will be a yes or no. I want to say that the differences will be statistically insignificant. That's probably a less clunky way I could have said that, but it's basically yeah they'll be different or no they'll be similar. Hmm. Okay, so then the next one, with how many pitches does AL and NL combined, this whip first improve by at least, and we're going to take this down to 10%. Again, there was nothing scientific setting that 20% last time, so we're going to take this to 10%. So now we only have two options, two or three. Okay, and then let me just copy this one. We'll just use a copy of this for four strikeouts per nine. So we'll delete that. And then how many? This will be three pitch pitchers now. Let me rephrase this a little bit. What will be the whip of the combined? There we go. That's worded a little more clearly, I think, than last time. So basically, like whoever's top in this top of the statistical rankings in whip at the end of the season, what will be their whip? And I think last time was it Clay Dog who actually guessed that whip exactly to two decimals, but unfortunately had been knocked out by the tiebreakers before that. That was pretty impressive. All right, so let me put this back up here in case y'all want to look at this while you think about your responses, and I will go ahead and open the form and get the link ready and all that. Let me pin this to the chat. I did think this is our first time looking at this data with AW in the mix. I did think it was interesting that the strikeouts per nine, like the data is very clear, right? Like there's a jump from one pitch to two pitches, from just the knuckleball to then the knuckleball and the fastball, and then as you add pitches from there, it just it goes up point 0.2, point 0.4. Great. I did think this weird little bump in the data for whip though was interesting, right? It drops from 1.4 to 1.3, 1.29. Then it goes up again a little bit to 1.31, then it goes back down to 1.28. Now that could just be noise, but that is a lot of batters faced in innings pitched. Or is there something interesting going on in there? Whether it's like the order in which we added the pitches, or I can't think of any game makers that say, oh, if you add three pitches, you get a tiny bit worse than two pitches, but then you get better again with four. That would seem weird. So I was wondering maybe there's something to do with like the order in which I added pitches, or it could just be RNG. There's always that. It seems more likely that it's RNG. Yeah, AW. That was my initial guess too. That it's just noise, but it did make me wonder though because the strikeout per nine data was so clean that I was like, is there something there or is it just noise? But we're going. I mean, it's basically out to the second decimal, so it's probably noise. I agree. Um, all right, so I'm going to start setting up the experiment here. Let's go to the base game. On AW, I don't think you were in the chat last night when I mentioned. I think I figured out a way I can do the Ray Caldwell versus Otto Hess showdown, where we're going to have a whole team of Otto Hesses against a whole team of Ray Caldwells. Um, that that Max has already redeemed channel points for. And so the main issue was I couldn't just import the player years because it was pretty clear that the cards don't fully or the actual season data doesn't fully reflect the cards. And so the player ratings for those years will probably not reflect the cards. And so what I need to do is come up with a way to translate the cards into base game ratings. And I think I've got it figured out, at least in a way that will at least let us do the sim in a way that I think is fair to both cults. Um, I'll probably do a couple of off-stream sims just to make sure that I've got it at least close. But once that's done, I think it's more fun if you and Max AW are both in the chat when we do it. So probably aim to do it like on a Thursday or a Friday night. Caldwell's a cult. Funny thing James says Caldwell's a cult. Hess is more like a small gathering. Um, that's probably accurate. I think even I think even Max is starting to accept that like he's definitely on the smaller side of the scale on that one. Um, but yeah, I think the two things left to be done are like me finalizing the methodology for translating the cards into base game ratings, or it might be actually using the imported ratings, but then adjusting them based on the cards. Is probably the more accurate way to put it. And then the second part is then finding a day or a night where you're both available to be in the chat. Is this a gas station or a toy truck? um, so yeah, so I think we're on the verge of being able to have that showdown, which is good because I Max had redeemed the points. At this point, I think it's been a couple weeks now, so I felt bad that we hadn't had the sim yet. But I also wanted to make sure it was fair. Like just running the cards um, would not fully reflect, I think, like how fun those cards are in the imperfect team. So it would not have made for as entertaining of a sim because I think you know um, the competition, right, is not between their real players, it's between the cards, and the cards definitely do not reflect the real players. So wanted to make sure I want to make sure I'm delivering what people are expecting and not like a very literal Caldwell versus Hess, which would I don't think anyone would have been happy with the results of that. All right, so let's go ahead and start a new game. We're gonna do the quick start. We should now have a quick start 7, right? I think I saved a new average league quick start 7. There it is. Oh, I should have put 4x4 in the title. That is the 4x4 though. We're gonna do knuckle curve. I don't have enough letters, so I'm gonna put reps. VO1. All right, commissioner mode cannot be fired. Let's go ahead and change the names of the team. Oh, let's do a quick check to see did the manager options that. Yeah, so D Block noted this too when I was trying to update this. The version 7 was important though because I had to change something here. Let me see. Let me make sure it stayed changed. Oh, this got unchanged again too. I locked this. That's why it's a version 7. I locked this and now it's unlocked again. Anyway, what I was going to say is D Block also confirmed he's had issues with manager changes not saving as part of a quick save, a quick start. So I guess we're going to have to undo this every time manually, which is a bummer because I made sure to like verify with chat and specifically with D Block that okay, I am making these changes to save them, and he said, "Oh yeah, those might not save in the quick start," and they in fact did not save in the quick start. That's interesting. I'm going to make note of that. I think that's something worth submitting to the developers as a potential bug. And this pen is out of ink. We'll find another one. And I can't find another pen. Okay. I'll just try to remember that. It's also a bit that this part's so disturbing that this is not a manager setting. This is a an actual game setting that it didn't save. Yeah, AW, I did think about using Notepad, but it would just get lost because I have so many Notepad files open at any given point. Like the sheet of paper is actually much more reliable for me personally. But the fact that this box came unchecked again, that's more concerning because that's actually fundamental to running the sim. But anyway, at least we know what changes we need to make and we made them already. So but let's do our usual. Let's change the names of the teams first. This will be one fastball, and this will be AL. I just will call it fastball. AL fastball only. One knuckle curve, and this will be AL knuckle curve. This will be two pitches, and the two pitches are actually the fastball and knuckle curve, or two pitch Mariners. Three pitch. And we'll do the same for the neutral league. One fastball, NL fastball, one knuckle curve, neutral league knuckle curve, two pitch, and two, three pitch. All right. All right. So let's start making the edits. Again, the changes are just to the starters. Fastball only team, one of the easier changes to make. And I'm just arrowing down through the roster. I was actually surprised to hear from the chat the other day that asking how am I going from player to player. So I was really pleased to be able to tell people, oh, you just use up and down arrows to move the roster while you're in any screen. It's such a big quality of life improvement that I was super happy to be able to share that with someone who didn't know that because I think it makes things so much easier. I'll be showing the player profiles. What do you mean? You want me to go back to the profile screen when I'm done editing? I can do that. Yeah, we can do that. We usually don't, but you want to see this? Is this what you want to see? Oh, you want to see the stuff, don't you? I should probably not do that, but at least everyone's seeing it. So I kind of think that's actually going to make it too easy. So maybe I shouldn't show that. In fact, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should do this. Uh, I created I created a version of this just for such an occasion. Oh yeah, it's this one. Maybe I'll just show this one. Or no, no, wait, let's actually do this. How about that? I think this will make it more interesting. Because otherwise, if everyone can see the stuff, the strikeout per nine thing will be just super apparent. The whip part might still be harder to tell, but okay, now this will be a departure from last time. We're actually going to have a one pitch pitcher now that has just the knuckle curve. I almost want to go back and do the knuckleball one with the same format because I think it will be interesting to see that difference between the one pitch fastball pitcher and the one pitch knuckleball pitcher. Because I'm with you guys. I don't think the knuckle curve will be treated like a knuckleball. I think it'll be treated more like a curveball. And if that's the case, the one pitch pitchers won't look any different. So I want to see when they do look different. So I want to go back and do this with the knuckleball. Oh wait, I was so busy talking about the knuckleball. I put in knuckleball instead of knuckle curve. Watching the Emmys out of the corner of my eye, is Jodie Foster in a series right now? Is that Jodie Foster? It's across the room, so I can't really see. All right, that team is done. That was the first knuckle curve only team. This will be the second knuckle curve only team. It was pretty interesting to learn that there's not one clear definition of a knuckle curve, that they're basically three working definitions. I also found it interesting that that first definition that some people are calling it a spike curve because it's much more a variation of a curveball, but I haven't heard that term in a broadcast yet. I mean, partly because all three versions I think are still pretty rare compared to the other pitches. Um, but now I'm gonna definitely my ears will perk up the first time I hear a spike curve in a broadcast. All right, so that's the one pitch knuckle curve team, both of them. Now it's the two pitch teams, and just as a reminder myself, they are getting a fastball and a knuckle curve. Interesting. It's the first and last pitch on the list. I do think I'm going to reserve Saturday and Sunday nights because they have been kind of our quietest nights um, for our wackiest experiments, especially ones that require like a lot of prep, like a lot of this editing. Like this one doesn't require that much, but um, because we don't have anyone to rate into, um, it's usually like our core group. So, you know, chat's pretty good at keeping each other entertained if I'm busy editing. So it seems like Saturday and Sunday are good nights to do kind of our wackier stuff. And then Thursdays and Fridays, I definitely want to try to reserve for the stuff that I feel like, can stick to a schedule. So probably like you know, doing saves, like continuing saves. Um, those seem like the safest bet so that that we don't raid into max too late. So I think that also means when we do additional versions of the the creator roster game, we'll probably end up doing that on Saturdays and Sundays. Kratos says I'm gonna have to ask the rest of y'all in chat to tone it down and stop doing my job for me. I'm supposed to be entertaining y'all. Yeah, I don't mind entertaining y'all, but I think I would hope y'all would find it much more entertaining to have a few more voices entertaining you than just mine. I realized this morning too, like I always hang out in Cavacom's um stream on Sundays. In fact, let's go ahead and give Cava a shout out. I don't think I've done that before. If you're not following Cavacom, I think you're missing out. Every Sunday, he does a stream of varying length depending on how long his teams are in the PT24 and PT25 playoffs. And he also does a lot of um, I don't even know what the name of the wrestling game is, but I know his stream it is the Sexy Wrestling Company. Um, but I realized today, I mean, it is a great stream. He's a great streamer, but it's like 80% the chat entertaining ourselves in the chat, which is still a form of Kava's genius, right? To cultivate a chat like that, I think is awesome. Oh, I already did the shout out. I was trying to do it again. Sorry. AW says form entered, ready to lose. Okay, this is the last pitcher on this team, the two pitch average Phillies. All right, and then was that the last two pitch team? It was. Now we're on the three pitch teams. So this will be fastball, changeup, and knuckle curve. So fastball stays, slider and curveball get nuked, changeup stays, and knuckle curve gets added. All right, that's easy enough to remember. Now, if I wanted to, I could peek at the stuff changes, but I like to be surprised by the simulation. So I actually try to focus on the part I'm editing and not look at the projection changes. Okay. All right, that's it for that team. We have one more team left, and then we are ready to roll. It helps that it's just the starting pitchers. No one else needs to get edited. I got an Emmy spoiler alert for you guys. Again, it's across the room, so I can't exactly tell what's going on, but someone from Shogun just won an Emmy. Okay, I think we're good. I think we're done. But I will say, as a Japanese person, uh, I'm super amazed to see a Japanese person standing on the Emmy stage holding an Emmy, giving an acceptance speech. That's pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to exit out of these changes so I can go back to the regular view. Sorry to stymie you, AW. I had set that up, I think, for one of the really like stuff based tests we're doing. Um, but yeah, then as soon as you asked to see the profiles, it's like, oh yeah, that would give it away. What we're doing tonight would probably give it away. So, all right. Hey Max, welcome in. There's a form pinned to the chat, and the form is opened. I did it all by myself without having anyone remind me. Um, that you can enter. Oh, Max has already filled it out. Great. All right, so let's do our usual here. I'm actually all right on water right now, but let me run some ads so we're not interrupted during the sim. I think I will take a preemptive bio break as well. So I'll still run the 3 minutes and then take that as your 3 minute warning to finish the form if you're still working on it, and then we'll get to the sim and give out some packs. Might be a shorter stream tonight, but let's see how it goes. All right, I think we're back, and we are ready to start the sim. Unless I hear any objections in the chat, I'm going to close the form in a little bit here. All right, here I go, closing the form. AW, wait, how can you object? Didn't you already submit your form? All right, I'm closing the form now, despite AW's objection. All right, it is now closed. Let me generate the spreadsheet. You just wanted to say that. All right, let me hide some columns here, and then let's check out what people are thinking. All right. So, will the one pitch knuckle curve team have a whip or strikeout per nine significantly better than the one pitch fastball team? Only one person thinks yes, that there will be a significant improvement between the one pitch fastball team and the one pitch knuckle curve team. That's interesting. All right. Then the next tiebreaker: how many pitches uh, does the how many pitches does whip improve by at least 10%? So three pitches. How about strikeouts per nine? We got a couple people here saying with two pitches. That's good. And then the numerical responses we will save for after the sim. So it's interesting. There is a little bit of a difference in the first question and in the third question. So that might make for some interesting pack giveaway standings. All right, good luck, everybody. Let's see what happens. Claydog says all threes can't fail me 2 nights in a row, can it? Listen, I forget Claydog. I did forget about your all three strategy. That's good. AW, you're saying wait just because you wanted to say that too, or do you actually want me to wait? All right. I don't know if AW is typing a really long thing that he wanted us to see before we started. No. I can't believe you got me twice with that. All right. Let's do our little 2 game stub of a month in March here. All right. There's nothing to be known from this, so let's check out the first full month. All right. The this is the three pitch team is running away with the AL, but in the NL, the one pitch team is leading, but it's hard to say leading because all four teams are within 2 games of each other. This happens quite often, but I still find it insane that the AL and the NL should be pretty much identical. But in one league, there's a team running away with it, and the other league, everyone's in a logjam. A triple play. All right, let's see. We're now in through May. In the AL, the three pitch team still leading. Interestingly, the other three teams are packed pretty close together, but among them, the one knuckleball team or knuckle curve team uh, is in first place. I mean, it's in second place ahead of the other two. But really, if anything, there's a split to the one fastball team. Clayton says, who wins each division obviously correlates to who has the best average infielder for. All right, let's go to the All Star break. Oh, most popular stars, average infielder one. All right, let's finish the day and then let's look at the All Star voting. It is interesting though. We are starting to see some similarities in the leagues now. The three pitch team is leading both leagues. The two pitch team is in second place in both leagues. Um, but the third and fourth place in one league, the knuckle curve is ahead by 16 games ahead of the one fastball team. The other, the one fastball team, is 4 games ahead of the one knuckle curve team. All right, well, let's check out the All Star voting. Let's see if there's anything to be seen there. And it's our first glimpse into the stats. So, the All Star, on the AL side, this is two three pitch pitchers and then one knuckle curve only, or two knuckle curve only pitchers. That's weird. Where are the two pitch pitchers in between? Nowhere to be seen. All right, hold on. Let me copy this and paste it into a sheet here. All right, and then in the neutral league side, see, this is more of what I was expecting. You have a three pitch pitcher, a couple of two pitch pitchers. I would have guessed maybe flip that two three pitch pitchers and one two pitch pitcher. But we still have two one pitch fastball pitchers in the mix. What do their seasons look like? Okay, again, here's another example of the AI picking players for the All Star game, or at least for the voting. 6-9, 6.82 ERA. Like, really, the voters couldn't find someone better to vote for. This one's 8-7 with a 4.94. I'd rather have that pitcher than this fourth place pitcher. But all right, and then let's chosen. Like these actually seem more legit. 11 and 2, 1.32. That's from a three pitch team. I don't know how this one got in it from the American League Knuckle Curve team, 6-8 with a 5 ERA. Uh, this one you could just argue that the AI loves wins, but usually it loves wins and ERA. But there's a three pitch pitcher, 9-3, 5.14 ERA. Here's a knuckle curve starter, 5-7 with a 4.53. So yeah, I don't know. I it's still these All Star votings still continue to bother me and boggle my mind. Here's another one, 4-9 with a 6.60 ERA from a two pitch team. That pitcher made the All Star team. Anyway, it's just my usual complaint, so we'll just move on. The All Star voting just seems broken for pitchers. For the batters, I think it's fine. It's usually pretty fine. All right, home run challenge. Look at this. Average infielder four got dissed. Instead, there's one, two, three, four, five versions of average infielder one on this home run derby. Are we gonna have to shift our fandom from average infielder four to average infielder one? Look at this. Three of them move on. Well, that wasn't that hard. Two of them were facing each other, so they were bound to move on. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You're right, Spy Face Jane. I should not be so quick to jump on the average infielder one bandwagon and forsake average infielder four. All right. Well, there's definitely gonna be an average infielder one in the final because two of them are facing each other. Oh my goodness, it's an all average infielder one final. All right, let's see who wins. And the winner is average infielder one. Man, so that's some domination by average infielder one there. All right, let's check out the All Star game. Oh no, I don't want to do that. I want to go here. Scores, quick play. Also MVP, average infielder two. Spreading the wealth here. Check out the box score. Ooh, look at that win probability graph. Look at that. NL was headed to a victory and then almost blew it and then came back to win it. The AL scored three in the ninth, the top of the ninth to pull ahead. Wow, this is interesting. So, okay, NL jumps ahead 1-0. AL ties it. NL regains the lead 2-1. AL ties it in the top of the sixth, 2-2. NL jumps ahead in the bottom of the sixth, 5-2. AL cuts the lead to 5-3. In the top of the ninth, AL takes the lead 6-5. And then the bottom of the ninth, that must be a grand slam walk off, right? They score four, or maybe they scored a run to tie and then a 3-run walk off. Let's see what happens. Oh yeah, average infielder two hit a walk off grand slam home run. Wow. Clay Dog says, I hear Taylor Swift broke up with Travis and is dating average infielder one now. All right, so who on the AL gave up that grand slam? Let's see. Okay, it's one of the relievers, so it's an average pitcher with his 108 ERA. So it's not one of the starters. Although this starter too got rocked. They are from the three pitch team. Average infielder two got hit by a pitch and hit a grand slam in the bottom of the ninth. Let's see how this. That's funny. Average starter one got the blown save and the win, giving up 3 runs in 2 innings. And that pitcher is from a three pitch team. I got to see this game log. Top of the ninth, bottom of the ninth. All right, top of the ninth to take the lead. A single, a flyout, a hit by pitch, a triple scoring two, a 2-run triple, a single to score the base runner from the triple, and then a pickoff throw to first to end the inning. There's all kinds of stuff going on in the top of the ninth. I was surprised it wasn't a hidden ball trick. Okay, and then the bottom of the ninth. It looks like a bunch of defensive substitutions, which is interesting when everyone's average. A walk, another walk, first and second. A hit by a pitch to load the bases, and then a grand slam. Average outfielder for no base running skills. Wow, they got no one out. Oh no, they did fly out. They had one fly out, a first pitch fly out, and then a walk, a hit by pitch, and then a grand slam. Wow, that's crazy. All right, let's finish this day. What a goat. All right, let's finish out July. There's a half a month here. All right, the three pitch teams are building a lead now. 13 games to second place in the AL and 8 games to second place in the NL. Both leagues have a tie for second and third, but it's different teams. It's a two pitch team and the knuckle curve in the AL, and there's a two pitch team and the fastball team in the NL. And then there's a bit of a gap again to the last place team. All right, let's do the month of August. All right, let's see. The three pitch teams continue to dominate. The NL, in fact, has expanded the lead to 19 games, bigger than the lead in the AL now. And yeah, we're still seeing the one pitch fastball and the one pitch knuckle curve teams flipped in the AL and the NL. But interestingly, 2 through 3 are only separated by one game now in the NL. AW says two pitch team letting me down. All right, let's go to the end of the regular season. We're now in September, so all right. Three pitch team, first place in both. Uh, oh, the knuckle curve only team has jumped to second place in both leagues. And the one pitch fastball team is 36 games behind in the AL, but in the NL, it's the two pitch team that's 22 games behind in last place. All right. Oh, we have not finished the season. One more game. Yeah, nothing in the standings changed. Let's go to the playoff tree. Yeah, we have both one pitch knuckle curve teams. Wait a second, what? How did that happen? Let me go back to the standings. Oh, the one pitch knuckle curve team got into second place in both leagues now. That's weird. I think it's weird that in any scenario that I mean, we have to look at the pitching stats. Of course, there's lots of probably noise from the bullpens and just RNG when it comes to like winning games because it's RNG on top of RNG. But I think it's weird that the knuckle curve teams are outperforming the two pitch teams because I can't think of any universe in which a one pitch knuckle curve player or pitching staff should be better than a two pitch pitching staff that includes a knuckle curve. But that's why we don't use the standings anymore. All right, let's check out the playoffs. Go to the playoff tree. Again, this is small sample size within small sample size, so let's not read too much into these results, but they are fun. Ooh, the three pitch teams both sweep. Wow. All right, three pitch team versus three pitch team in the World Series. And the three pitch National League team beats the three pitch American League team 4-2. I did not mean to click through those things so fast. So let's go back to the tree here. Let me get a screenshot of this. Let me get a screenshot of the standings. And let's look at the stats, shall we? I'll do the same things I did last night, which is I will start a Google sheet to combine the AL and NL stats while you all look at the team stats. All right, so let me put that up, and then let me set up a sheet. All right, feel free to weigh in the chat as you see stuff. I'm going to be transcribing numbers into the sheet here. I forgot I was going to switch to OPS because WHIP doesn't appear on this table. I forgot to do it, so I'm going to have to calculate WHIP again. I learned it the hard way, and I still forgot to learn my lesson. Yeah, it's true. WHIP is pretty easy. That is true. Okay, I did walk, so I'm doing hits right now. Less than three hits allowed. Definitely just go in order of the of the standings. Oh, in the AL, not necessarily in the NL. Smiley face saying so the difference between having just one average pitch and two as a starter seems basically negligible. And I think that's something we did learn previously too, right? So I think the bigger thing is that the knuckle curve seems to be one pitch, just like the fastball is one pitch. Although it does seem a little less. No, that's not true. Well, let me hold judgment until I finish entering these in. Okay, innings pitched. This is annoying because of the 1/3 and 2/3. Right through pitch. Four, 2.6. 3. Okay, and then I need the strikeouts, so the strikeout per nine data. Wow, that data is pretty clear. It seems like. Okay, so I think all my formulas can just stay the same. Oops. Okay, so this is the combined data. This is in the order of standings. So I should we put it in order of pitches? Or I guess we can just I don't think we can reorder it, do we? um, so hey, let me catch up on chat here too. AW says both will get a penalty for not having a starter that might nerf them closer together. So yeah, AW. I guess I've been talking about it as you get a increase in performance, but really it's you're getting penalized, right, for not having enough pitches. The penalty affects stuff and HRA, so that's why you see the HRA being similar between those two and closer in stuff, but still in favor of the two pitch. So the strikeouts per nine, I think, is pretty clear. There doesn't seem to be a significant difference between a one pitch fastball pitcher and a one pitch knuckle curve pitcher. And then with a two pitch pitcher, but this is really like a yeah. So I think what we needed to have if we could have had a fifth team, right? It would have been good to have a team that was two non-knuckle curve pitches, and to see if that two-pitch team is also similar to the fastball knuckle curve team. Because then you would have another data point saying the knuckle curve is just another pitch. I think this part is interesting though, that in terms of whip, the three pitch team has the lowest whip, which we expected, but that the one knuckle curve pitch team has a lower whip than the two pitch team. Now, it is a pretty small difference. It's a 0.02 difference, but the more significant difference, I think, is that the one knuckle curve team has a lower whip than the one fastball team. Now, what does that look like in terms of percentage? Okay, it's a 5% difference. So I don't think it falls into the threshold of significance. Slow fastball is bad. That could be because the velocity is only 91 to 93. It is funny that 91 to 93 these days is slow because, like in the 80s, when I really started following baseball pretty closely, like you'd be lucky to have a couple starters who threw in the up into the mid 90s, and almost no one was throwing high 90s consistently. So it's funny that 91 to 93 is slow, but I think you're right. Like in the current universe, that is slow. So it would be interesting to do this experiment with, instead of the knuckle curve, the knuckle ball, because I do want to see how one pitch fastball compares to one pitch knuckleball. I do think there would be a difference there. But I think part of what this is saying is the knuckle curve is just another pitch. It's not being treated like two pitches like the way the knuckleball was. But I think redoing the knuckleball experiment with this structure would help re-emphasize that, because you would see then that the one pitch knuckleball team I think would be significantly better than the one pitch fastball team. Okay, so then what does this mean though for our pack giveaway? But so I do think though, like the big picture question was, is the game treating the knuckle curve more like a curveball or more like a knuckleball? And I think it's pretty clearly treating it more like a curveball. It's just another pitch. Whereas like last night we showed that the knuckleball is definitely being treated differently. Um, so I think that we've I think we have an answer to that question. But of course, the most important question on everyone's mind is who gets the packs. So let's figure that out. Oh wait, before I switch to this, let me we'll unhide the Twitch IDs for everybody. All right, here we go. All right. Will the one pitch knuckle curve team have a whipper K9 significantly better than one pitch fastball team? And I think the answer there was no. It was less than 5%. So that's pretty much noise. Oops, I did it backwards. There we go. Okay. All right. So second tiebreaker, everyone had the same answer, which was how many pitches. With how many pitches does the whip improve significantly? And actually, I don't even know that we saw as significant an improvement here as we did in the other experiment, but it was the biggest jump was with three pitches. So we have a tie there. Yeah. With how many pitches does the strikeouts per nine improve by at least 10% or significantly improve? So let me do a calculation here. So yeah, we get an almost 20% jump with the second pitch, which is weird because I thought previously one and two pitches were equally bad. We didn't see the strikeout per nine improve until the third pitch, but So what is happening here? That's weird. Is it possible that for the purpose of strikeouts per nine, that the knuckle curve counts as two pitches? It pretty clearly does not count as two pitches for whip. But the 20% jump in strikeouts per nine, going from one pitch to two pitches, the stuff is just better. But we didn't see that jump. Um, we didn't see that jump with two regular pitches though. Right before we did the knuckleball, we did it with just we went. I think the sequence was fastball, curveball. Oh no, fastball, changeup, slider, curveball. And in that experiment, we didn't see the strikeout per nine jump until the third pitch. But here we're seeing it with the second pitch. Show the ratings? Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's show the ratings. Um, 45 stuff. But I guess the question is, I mean, I'd have to go into the other sim to see it, but we didn't see that jump until the third pitch. So if I were to, unless it was there and we didn't see it, but I think we would have noticed it. I mean, it wasn't just me; we had multiple eyes on it, so I feel like we would have caught it if it had been there. Anyway, I one of the things I'll do tonight then is, or tomorrow morning maybe, is I'll verify that we didn't see that jump to the third pitch when there was no knuckle curve or knuckle ball involved. That's true, smiley face Jane. It could just be that the knuckle curve plays off the fastball better. But in yeah, I don't know that it's yeah, that could be. Everyone in the league is right-handed throwing and right-handed hitting. Do you think that's why? Oh, does the knuckle curve? Oh, fastball knuckle curve for heavy same side split pitches. Okay. And so, well, so, but, okay, so the game isn't giving it a benefit because it's treating it as more than one pitch, but the game is has just a built-in benefit for those pitches being um same side killers basically. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, well, that's okay, fair enough. So it is not acting as a second pitch, but that same handedness effect is strong enough that it almost looks like it's a second pitch benefit. Okay, so we know AW's our first place winner. So let's just take him out of the mix for now. And for second place, we have three people in the running. The first tiebreaker is not going to be a tiebreaker because we all had the same answer here. The question was how many three pitch pitchers will be among the top eight in whip leaders? But let's see what the actual answer was. AW says he backed it up. He was worried. You did back it up. But it's interesting, though, that you backed up that two pitch answer with a different reason than I was looking for. I was so strictly looking for the does it count as two pitches answer. But it is interesting that that handedness effect is so strong that it 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 almost looks like it counts as two pitches because that effect is so strong. All right, let's this is okay. I just happen to be on this team, but let me show you this. Just within a staff, again, these are identical pitchers, but check out how the coin flips worked. 15 and 12, 6 and 14, right? Same staff, same team, and also the ERAs. There's three sub 6 ERAs and two 7+ ERAs. Again, that's all coin flips, right? Because the a part of it could be scheduling too, I guess. They could have been facing um well, no, there is no well, yeah, they could have pitched more. The ones with the worst records could have pitched against the three pitch teams more, maybe. Reliever with the worst ERA getting the most innings. Let's see. That's true. He's the one, maybe because he's the one to sign long relief. All right, let's see. We're gonna look at the stats leaders. Uh, this is interesting. The batting average a little bit higher than when we did knuckleball. So I think the knuckle curve may be a less effective pitch than the knuckleball, even with the righty benefit there. If you check the ratings of a pitcher, I think you'll see that their V right be much better between one and two pitches. But they only have V right. So all their data is V right. So I think one thing that was interesting is in the past, the loss leaders tended to be from the one pitch teams, right? And so we see it here. One, two, three, four, five. Five of the leaders and losses were fastball only pitchers. Um, that's interesting that it's all the losses are all either fastball only or two pitch pitchers. There's no knuckle curve only in here. Which that I think that supports AW's comment earlier that a slow fastball is bad, right? Because the one pitch knuckle curve pitcher is not throwing any slow fastballs. They're just throwing slow knuckle curves. So I think there's something there. And the win leaders, mostly three pitch pitchers, even though we know wins are a little flawed, especially in this format. AW cracked open the game. Fastball only appears to be a .93 split. Knuckle curve .833. Wow, .833 split. So it could either be that slow fastballs are bad, or it could be that only throwing a high split pitch against all righties keeps you off the loss leader list. And I don't think we know which one is doing that. In terms of the strikeout list, this is interesting. The entire strikeout list is three pitch pitchers, which correlates with what we found out about the strikeouts per nine. So that makes sense. And on the whip question, how many three pitch pitchers will be among the whip leaders? We have one, two, three, four. Well, you all got it exactly right. Wow, nice job. Interesting that there's three knuckle curve onlys in the mix, and there's one fastball only managed to make it in. But there's a big jump between that three pitch league leader and then the rest of the pack. All right, so if we go back to again, there was no tiebreak there, but amazingly, all three of you got that exactly right. Four pitchers were three pitch pitchers. All right, and then what is the whip of the league leader in whip? And the answer was 1.05 whip. And so the closest is going to be this middle contestant for second place, which is Max. Max LP80. Congratulations. Now that 1.05 was a bit of an outlier. It was 0.18 away from the rest, and then the rest of the pack was pretty tightly bunched. So if you look at that 1.23, I'm just kind of curious to see, as far as the pack goes, closest then would have been, oh, look at it, almost exactly on the money, 1.24. So if it had not been for that one outlier, Clay Dog would have been almost exact on the guess there. But as it stands, our two winners, Clay Dog should have stuck with threes and then guessed 1.23. AW had 1.11. Yeah, I was going to unhide those rows. Oh, I have to just unfilter them, I guess. So where's AW in this list? AW's second and Max is third. Actually, I can probably just shrink these down to fit everyone in. Yeah, AW, you would have been, wait, no, oh, it would have been tied though, right? It would have been point 0.6 away, point oh 0.06 away, point oh 0.06 away, except you wouldn't have gotten there because of this tiebreaker. Max would have had you on that one. The number of three pitch pitchers, Max would have gotten you there. But as it stands, first place goes to AW, and second place goes to Max. Thanks everybody for playing. I hope you had fun. Um, it is interesting how that knuckle curve is so righty strong that if you didn't know that, it would have created the illusion that for strikeouts per nine, it was the game was counting it as two pitches. Um, but yeah, that's interesting. That's really interesting. That's something I hadn't really thought too much about until AW brought it up. But it is an entire league of righties versus righties, so that will be an important factor in simulations. All right. Well, I think the overall answer is clear. Like the knuckle curve is just another pitch when it comes to whether you think it is boosting your whip and strikeouts per nine or um, nerfing it as you go down in pitches. It's definitely just being treated as one pitch. But the severe splittiness of it creates its own um, effects, which is really neat to see. All right, well, let's figure out who to rate into. Well, Ophi and Sensei Martian are not online. Sensei Martian must have already gotten to his hotel for the night because he was walking today. Let me see if Midnight Sumo is actually doing a tournament still. Oh yeah, cool. There's still a sumo tournament going on. All right, cool. Uh, can you show the split ratings on the pitchers? Yes, let's go check that out. Do you want to see it in the team? Well, I don't think I showed the team pitching stats. Do you want to just see like on an individual pitcher? Oh, you want to see like in editor. I thought you want to see the splits data, but you want to see the splits ratings. So this is a three pitch pitcher. Do you want to see it on the just a knuckle curve pitcher?
Why do you keep following me around? Look.
Oh, we just had a follow. Joe Co 01, thank you for the follow. And earlier I missed it. Split ends 92, thank you for the follow. All right, here's what a knuckle curve only pitcher looks like as far as splittiness goes. 1.2. Oops, sorry. Wait, I didn't mean to navigate away from that. Yeah, 1.2. Pretty splitty, and then they're only facing right-handers, so 2 pitch. Let's check out 2 pitch. Right? Oh, I did it again. I keep my finger slipped and it navigates me away, and I have to go through multiple screens to get back. 1.137. So that's 1 pitch knuckleball 1.2. 2 pitches knuckle curve and fastball is 1.137. And then let's look up just fastball. Just fastball is 1.075. So yeah, that splittiness factor combined with the fact that you're only facing righties um, would explain. AW says makes sense then, maybe slightly worse because not as splitty, but they still for the 2 pitch because um, not as splitty, but they still have a stuff boost. Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what. So yeah, without looking, I'm glad you mentioned the splits because if we hadn't looked at that, then it does start to look like is there some sort of treatment where the knuckle curve is somehow more than 1 pitch? But when you look at the splittiness and the fact that you're only facing the side your pitch uh, beats, then it makes more sense. Just out of curiosity, what's Okay, so the knuckleball is reduces the splittiness, which I would not have a guess either way. Because to me, a good knuckleball, like you don't know where it's going, so how could it be splitty or not splitty? Um, but yeah, it's interesting that it reduced the splittiness. Fastball, slider, sinker, knuckle curve, all same side. Yeah, that makes sense. And then screwball should go the other way, right? Yeah, look how hard it goes the other way. And changeup should go other way, maybe less so, but yeah, there you go. Yep. Yeah, so that makes sense. And so then it makes me wonder, should the completely average league have some lefties in it? Like a completely average number of lefties in it? Because one thing I didn't factor in when I was like, so when I was creating the completely average league, my thought was, well, the majority of pitchers and batters are right-handed, right? So then, if you took a theoretically average player, then they would be on average right-handed. But that glosses over a big part of the story, though, which is we're going from like let's say we went with everyone's right-handed because I'm just going to make this up. 60% of the league is right-handed, but that completely ignores a significant percentage of players that are left-handed because we just wanted to pick one-handedness. I just thought it would incorporate too much variability into the Sims, or two lefties and a switch in the yeah, or in the AL, all the pitchers and batters can be right-handed, and then in the NL, all the pitchers be right-handed and all the batters can be left-handed, or something like that. We lose the benefit of getting two data sets per sim, but maybe it's good to have the opposite handedness reflected. I don't know. This is raising an important set of questions that I need to think about in terms of like it is highlighting that the complete average league is very artificially not average in one way, which is the handedness. Right, but then like how far do you take like let's say 30% of the league is left-handed, right? For some positions that's relatively easy to work in. Um but then like for catcher, you only have two catchers. So if you make one left-handed, now you're at 50% left-handed catchers. I will say it's probably closer to average if I make half of the players left-handed hitting than I have by making them all right-handed hitting. Okay, I need to think about this. This is great because it's this is a real fundamental question about like is the average league actually average? And it's only going to affect certain sims, certain experiments, but like in this case, it's going to affect it a lot. Okay, I've got to think about this. There's no way I can figure it out tonight. Justice for lefties. All right. Let me see if yeah, Midnight Sumo is still in full swing. This is the one good thing about streaming late at night is the sumo tournaments are in full swing when we finish. So I'm gonna rate us into Midnight Sumo. This is I found out they're Canadian. Uh Mostly a Canadian guy, but I think there's got a few people that help him out with the he does English commentary and play-by-play on Japanese sumo tournaments. When the sumo tournaments are on, he does those, I think like live or close to live, and does the commentary over it. Canadian AW's out. Most other times they do broadcast these interesting like behind the scenes Japanese restaurant videos, which I find fascinating, but they're not voicing over them in English. But frankly, there's not much comment. There's not much speaking anyway. It's just watching them doing a lot of cooking and stuff and serving. But it's pretty neat. But right now, the sumo tournament is in full swing, so it's actually a super fun time to check it out. If you've ever had any interest in sumo or even just a curiosity, this is a great way to watch it because you get the live Japanese feed, but you get the English commentary. So I don't know if I should raid you during ads. All right, sorry about that. I just wasn't sure if anything weird would happen if I tried to raid during ads, so I just wanted to wait till the ads were over. But we're gonna raid on into Midnight Sumo, check out some sumo wrestling with English commentary, and I learned a lot watching because I don't always understand what the Japanese commentators are saying anyway, especially when they get to like real technical sumo terminology. So I'll see you in there. Oh, and thank you, Ezra Denny, for the raid earlier tonight. Really appreciate it as always.